So what I wanted to start off talking today is verified impression, and it encompasses a few things, and I'll go through those as well. But the idea is to get legitimate traffic, understand legitimate traffic, and then start to work on the insights. Comscore, you may or may not have heard of us, or bits of what we are, what we do. What we see in terms of trends where we're involved in the industry, we see the mobile multi-platform consumer. People have multiple devices. Video, as Sandeep will talk about, is now everywhere, right? It's on the tablets, on the mobile, on at home, smart TVs, all that stuff. The consumption is really high. And advertising automation, programmatic buying, all that's starting to pick up. RTB. And a lot of the questions are being asked is, everything from GRP to viewability, validation, bots, all these questions come into play. So we're, as a company, we've been in the audience measurement business for a long time. Starting 2000, that's our core business, was audience measurement. So if you, the basic of that is just like TV. We recruit people, we have 2 million people around the world. We monitor what they do on PCs, now increasingly on mobiles, and project that out and report and do a monthly report that the publishers use to understand their users in order to take it to sell to the agencies. The agencies use it to do media planning, reach frequency, when they buy across, say, Yahoo, Recruit, or whatever it is, they can get an estimate of the reach. We then started around 2010 into validating the campaign based on our audience. Right? So we had this audience that we would build reports on for the market, but then we started validating it. And then we started doing a lot more. Ad effectiveness. Is that impression valid? Is it, was the campaign that reached intended target? When we bought a company called AdExpose and combined the audience with the technology. And we call it VCE, so verified, validated impressions campaign. And we started to do more with integrating demographics from third parties in order to enhance the demographic capability. Age, gender, household income, presence of children, all that stuff for the campaign. And then last year we bought this small company out of Wisconsin, M.Labs, that had an awesome technology on detection of non-human traffic. We had it before, obviously, we look at bots and things, but M.Labs have a very interesting algorithm that we then incorporated into a lot of what we do. And then we integrate that into something that we were hoping to help on a pre-bid environment as well, so before the actual buy. But all this stuff up to here is post-bid, right? So you actually run the campaign, and then we tell you what happened pretty quickly, but it's still after you've actually bought the impression. So what is a verified impression? Very simply, could that impression have been seen by human eyes and was it in the right environment for the brand? Right. So 3 components to that. In view, viewability, and you've heard people talk about it, the last 2 days and last year. Brand safety, that's been around for ages. Brands are very conscious of brand safety. It's always been there. So at first it was, years ago it was brand safety. So brands wanted to talk about brand safety, make sure that on any campaigns, not on porn sites or all that. And then starting last year in Asia Pac, viewability. Right, it's been around, I think 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was a lot in the US and Europe, but last year we really started talking in view. And what we haven't really talked too much about, starting only this year, is the ad fraud. So from a verified impression, right, so, very simply put, gross impression served, take out non-human traffic. So you only have left that, with valid human traffic, right? And then take anything that's not brand safe out of that. and then look at the viewable impressions, and then say, okay, that's these are what I want to look at. This is the number of actual people seeing my message in the right environment. So I'm going to go through each one of these, not to get too technical, but just to give you an idea of what it is and why it's there. So invalid traffic, IVT, sometimes NHT, non-human traffic. Those are things that people call is non-valid. So IVT is a term that IAB uses, and so we started using MRC in the US uses. So we started doing that. So what is it? Bots, browser hijacking, adware traffic, tons of different things. Ad stacking, you know what ad stacking is? Right? One location, a number of ads on some in the back that you don't even see. Domain laundering. So a number of different things out there. But what is it? It doesn't everyone sort of talks about it, spiders and everything, but what is it? I'm just gonna go through a couple of things. So basic bots, right? So you've all heard of malware. You may have some malware on your computers, which you don't know, and that's typically what happens. People don't know that they have this stuff. They download stuff and it's there. And so the malware sits in the background. So a user, gets infected. The software stays in the computer. It hides in the background. It opens Windows. It goes to browser, and it does all the stuff in the background, and the user doesn't know anything. So what does it do? It starts to surf, and it starts to create profiles based on its certain behavior. So, for example, say Cal wants to target females aged 25 to 34. It'll create a profile that's roughly, say, 30 years old female by visiting certain sites and doing certain things. And then the bot master, there's millions of bots, malware out there. The bot master would then centrally control what that site visit and monetize from it, right? Make money from it. So this is why we're always sort of concerned about programmatic being can't see what's going on, ad networks, all that stuff, and it's not just that. They'll route stuff and they get paid. So why are they doing this? It's money. It's white collar crime, right? They're doing it to make money, and it's not like because a lot of people are like, well, malware. I mean, I don't have it because I don't understand why it's there. It's just taking money from essentially the advertiser, if you will. Same thing, same reason, domain laundering. From a buyer's perspective, go to an exchange, you buy from a premium site, what you think the listing is a premium site, and you think this is what you're getting, but what's happening is, it's actually sending it to some other site, right? Domain laundering, basically. Why? Money. It's a basic reason for a lot of this stuff. So this is where, we with the m.labs and everything, we have three ways three different sets of technology we use to actually understand traffic and bot traffic in particular. Our panel of PC, we know what people actually do, we know what's actually installed, so the actual meter is actually quite smart. So within our 2 million panel, we actually see the bot traffic, we might see malware, we'll see all that. We have a number of tags in a number of different publishers across, all across the world. And this is something that we've worked with publishers on over the years. And when they get traffic from a bot, we would see it as well, because we're tagging their site. So that comes into the data that we get and how we process this, the algorithm that we get to actually determine, okay, is this from this IP address or that user agent? Is it real traffic or is it fake traffic? And then we also have the ad tags as well. So when we tag the ads itself, we tag number of ads across. So we pull all that stuff, that data into there as well to understand what traffic is valid and what traffic is not. So it's not, what impact does this have? And this is worldwide numbers. So non-premium sites, so roughly greater than 10% has greater than 25% IVT, 27% between 5 to 25%, and 63% is less than 5%. That's the non-premium sites, the non-top sites. Within premium sites, 10% will have between 5 to 25, and the rest are below 5%. Which, like, okay, it seems manageable. But what's really, when we dive deeper into how fraud works, simply look at display. Numbers are around here, 90% of the top sites, top 100 sites, below 5%. But within sections, right, it actually goes down. So within a section of a premium site. Video is lower, but then within sections, it's actually quite high IVT. Why? What's happening? Exactly as I was describing, the bot masters are not just going to one site all the time, they're going to sections of site. And which sections do they go to? So ones with higher CPMs, because they make money. So they'll just turn it on and turn it off, and they'll go to the sports page because there's sport news or other news. So they'll just play around with it, and it's just it is really fast. So tracking it is not just straightforward, like, okay, that particular section always has IVT. No, it's a constant look at that traffic coming in, and is that IVT or is it real? Right? And so the bot masters are just controlling a lot of things, and it's scary, but then at the same time, it's like, wait, this is digital, we're just being transparent, right? So the last thing I want to do is scare people away from advertising digital. And one of the things when we do this is that there's like, oh no, there's fraud on digital. Well, what are you doing on TV, right? So I would step back. What are you doing on TV? So you're spending 70% of your budget on TV based on 2,000 households. How many people watch? You don't know. How many people are actually sitting in front of the TV instead of going to the bathroom or whatever? You don't know. You don't track. There's no way to track it. So just do it. Whereas digital, we can. And if you know this, then you can optimize around it. You can block traffic, and you can optimize around it, but you actually know. So digital is being more transparent. It's not any less ROI than a TV or print or whatever. Better because you could actually optimize against it. Brand safety. Brand safety means different things to different clients. And that's what we've found out over the years, right? Obviously, things like race, hate, pornography, nudity, everything on this side, most brands don't want to go to, unless maybe they're telcos, right? Because this high consumption of bandwidth. But then clients can be the content within page, airplane crash sites, bombs, that kind of stuff. People don't want to be associated with that, right? So there's other keywords that they don't want to be associated with, and so the brand safety does vary, and so it's not just a straight, okay, take those sites, blacklist them. That's easy. Everyone's been doing that for ages. So this was not in my earlier slide, but we bought a company earlier this year called Proximic. And they are good at looking at the content of the site in multiple languages. I think we're doing 15 languages or something like that, and build a profile of each of those pages. And at the same time, we can actually categorize it beforehand and use it for brand safety and for targeting as well from a publisher perspective, right? But primarily, this for our brand safety stuff, it's used for brand safety. Viewability. This has been talked a lot, so it's sort of. I do want to go because I haven't seen a lot of people really explain viewability. What does it mean? What are we talking about? So within a browser, you can actually, when the calls come in, you can actually get a lot of information from the browser. You can get the screen size, that's on here, of the actual monitor. You can get the browser size, the viewport, and all that stuff, and the ad. Right, where the ad sits, X, Y coordinates. So the viewport's what's actually viewable by the person. not stuff that's below, not stuff that's on the left or right or all that stuff, but what's actually in there. If they scroll down, that becomes a viewable ad or viewable content, right? And it's pretty much, it's that straightforward. And it sounds straightforward. Execution is a whole different thing, right? And then there's mobile. Mobile is even harder at this point. Right now, anything, well, in browser, if you use a mobile browser, then it's a standard. We use the same way as the geometric browser view, just like we did on a desktop. When it comes to in-app, it's currently defined as 100%. So if an advertising is served in the bottom order, it's considered 100% viewable. There's so many SDKs, there's so many apps. It's been very hard to try to get into each individual app and an ad within an app and determine the viewability. So at the moment, it's assumed that it's 100% viewable. What we, again, our global benchmark, so the black is in view, so 53% of traffic in APAC is actually ads, sorry, are in view. In target is slightly lower, but then you look around the world, we're actually quite high on the in view stuff relatively. In target is part of it seems low, but it's actually not. The more you target, the lower that percentage goes, right? As in, if you're trying to reach females, again, 25 through 34, and there are only, and they make up, say 20% of the population, right? And your in views and your in target is 39%. You're doing quite well, right? So it is actually about understanding the more you target, the lower your in view will go. As long as it's above a certain benchmark of the population, then you're actually doing a good job. So I was getting back to it's not straightforward, right? It's like, okay, verify impression. Okay, let's just start filtering. But when it comes to different vendors, there's actually different results, and that confuses the industry a lot. It's not just us. There's other vendors that do it. Facebook does it. Google does it. Everybody does some sort of viewability. The ad servers, all that stuff do it. So one of the things we say is, well, does the vendor account for non-human traffic before they calculate viewability? Does that make a difference? Right. So if you take 100 million impressions and you take viewable, and then you say, okay, I take out viewable stuff and then I calculate I take out the non-human traffic out of that and then I do my calculation. Is that different than doing non-human traffic first? Right. It is. Right. It is actually very different. Right. Viewability rates would go higher. Bots optimize for viewability. Bots are smart. They play videos. It's a browser within an environment. The malware actually can play a video, scroll up, scroll down, all that stuff. So viewability. So when and how does matter, right? Get the bot traffic out first before you look at the stuff. We've had anecdotes from clients who actually came to us because they were doing viewability, but they were doing CTRs, and they were looking at the metric as CTR, viewability, but they found that the cost per action rate was going up, even though the viewability with a certain vendor was going higher. And what they realized is they were actually optimizing towards bots. Right, because if you're just optimizing viewability, you optimize it towards bots. So viewability is only relevant if NHA is counted before. And there's other things like tabs, multiple tabs open. Right, everyone has multiple tabs open in the browser. Is the vendor looking at whatever's on top? Not the 5 or 6 or 7, 8 tabs that are in the background that's loaded up that news. You sort of looked at it and then you jump onto another tab, do your emails, all that stuff. If it doesn't get accounted, then it's over accounting. It doesn't have the opportunity to be viewed. So NHT and viewability. So let's say we mentioned provider A, same campaign, 15 million impressions served, and A takes out 5 million for NHT, so there's 10 million left of those viewable, and it's 50% viewability. And mentioned provider B has different NHT, and they only take out 2 million, and you go through that, and it's 74% viewable. So that makes a difference. Now, we've been dealing with agencies for ages, and when they look at this, which number do you think the agencies will take? They'll take this number. Right? They don't, they're afraid to go back to the brand and say, well, it's 57%, right? And this is one of the challenges that we have in the industry, is there is sort of, you don't want to show the real number sometimes, right? And it's tough. But this is, we think, as the industry, for the industry to move forward, to actually get the ROI, to actually start to optimize, you need the real number, and you need to work towards the real number. So we need to change that conversation. Talk about quality inventory, not scare everyone. Talk about, okay, quality inventory, what is it? Discover the quality inventory, and then optimize for it. Look at your campaigns, understand where it's coming from. How do you buy? How does your agencies buy? How do they push things out? And I said, back to my point earlier, digital is so much more transparent, but it's not a bad thing. Don't scare the brands, don't scare the clients, right? We're not trying to scare them. We're just trying to actually make it effective. The the U.S. and the UK, they've started accrediting various vendors on a number of things: in-view, invalid traffic, brand safety. Target audience is always an iffy. That's demographics, and so a UCOM IAB would do something like that, but an ABCE wouldn't, and they certify vendors for what they can and cannot do. Don't worry about this. It's more, again, this is ABC's certification of various vendors based on a number of metrics. So here, browser and OS. So various things. Ad is in view, but served within multiple cross-domain iframes. So that's an issue for viewability for the longest time, but everyone sort of started to got their head around that already. Browser windows moved off the viewport, right? Different tabs. Page to scroll away from the ad. Browser's resized. You're watching it, you resize the browser. Is it still viewable, right? Page carrying ad is open in a hidden page. In fact, pop under. Page carrying ad is open in a hidden tab. Page carrying just loses focus, as in using the email program or something like that, and you're moving away from the page. So these are the things that they actually certify vendors for. So that's, I'm sort of ending, sort of going back to what I was saying before. You gotta have your gross impressions, take out the invalid traffic, brand safe, keep it, block all the traffic, and this is what's valuable. So based on this, first verify that the impression, then we can look at the other KPIs and CTRs, click-through rates, whatever engagements you want to look at. But if you don't have, you haven't narrowed down to the real traffic, and you're analyzing across all these other metrics, KPIs, based on this over, bot traffic or traffic that's just not proper traffic, then you're going to optimize towards the wrong thing. With that, I'm going to leave it to Sandeep because he's going to talk about the other stuff.
Thanks, Jeff. Pretty good. We'll do a quick change on the laptop so that we can bring up my presentation. Thanks, Joe. Thank you. So in continuing with what just Joe mentioned, the viewability, which is probably a lot of fraud in that particular space, and let me extend that metric into going beyond the views, right? So views great, you got the person to actually click, watch the content that you advertised, but now let's take a look at how to measure that and how to re-engage that same person, and so that they can actually consume the content much more than you intended to. So my talk is about looking beyond the video view as a metric of measurement for online video. So the insights that I'm going to present today, these are basically insights that I have mined out of all the campaigns that we have done in the last few months or in the last year. Some of them have been with broadcasting like Turner, some with brands like Tyra Banks, who is a Victoria's Secret supermodel. Then some have been with Vivo, Capitol Records, and so forth, and also content in Southeast Asia, mainly India, with Bollywood. So if you look at the cross-section of the insights that I have picked from, it's been sports, movies, music, fashion, television, video, as well as brands. So the learnings that I'm actually going to be talking about is pretty much broad. It's not very specific to a certain thing. You can actually talk about specific things as well if you choose to. A bit about my experience. I've been in media for over 20 years now. Was an architect at General Motors for virtual reality. And past that, I worked at Lucasfilms on many movies. Now it's Disney. I'm not so happy about that. It went to the dark side. Obviously systems at CNN and BBC. And I was a scientist at Park, where I actually looked into much more interesting ways of enabling consumption using user experiences. In total, there's a lot of things that I have put into this presentation, so I hope you enjoy it. So now, all of you basically spent a lot of money in creating a content. You went through a storyboarding process, then you hired a production team, you created the content, then you hired a post-production team, and then it comes time to distribute this content. And you put this content, let's say, on a site like YouTube, or Facebook, or Twitter, pick your network. And you realized that this video got 100K views. And on top of that, it got about 5,000 likes and 200 shares, right? So now the question is, why? Why did this video get so many views and so many shares and so many likes? Now let's ask this question to an agency that ran this ad. The agency is going to say that the copy was very creative, right? So they basically went through a long 2-day conference on thumbnailing, figured out which thumbnails will work, and they fought over in a conference room and figured out this thumbnail is the best thumbnail. And they basically said, all right, let's go with this thumbnail. And then the next thing they did was, let's make a call to action on this thumbnail. The call to action in this case was, look at Jennifer Lopez's smirk and click to watch this video at this particular site, right? The third thing they will say is that targeting was spot on. So they actually did a lot of A/B testing. They figured out that this particular content, J-Lo would be more attractive to certain age women, certain age men, and they did that through various means of, tool sets available to the agencies. And the fourth thing is they said, well, it was the right amount of money. So we used 1K every month to promote this content, and that's why this video got, so many views. So overall, the agency is saying that there are 4 different issues that actually led this campaign to be successful. One is a copy, content, brand, and the reach, right? Now, I'm not going to argue about the copy, content, and brand, because obviously those 3 exist here. Now let's talk about the reach, right? And the reach is, this is basically where the A/B tested and figured out how many views and how many likes and how many shares. So the consumer response, I'll go to the consumer and ask them the same question. So why did you actually like this video? Why did you view this? Why did you share this? And a simple answer you always get is, because I liked the video, right? That's basically the answer that you get all the time. But why? Why do you like this video? I mean, what is it about this video that actually engaged you to take those actions? Now that information the agency doesn't have, because the agency just relies on the metric of view. So now let's go into Twitter, and I'll go into each and every network and start to decode. Let's look at the decode engagement on Twitter. Now on Twitter, let's look at a tweet where there is Tyra Banks in that tweet, and then this guy who's selling robotic selfie sticks, right? He happens to be there when Tyra is there, and he takes that selfie stick and he tweets saying, hey, look who I found at, a Wall Street Journal event, and she's using my selfie stick. And he got a lot of retweets. Obviously, Tyra also retweeted that. And he also maybe got a few followers. But overall, the agency will focus on, okay, this particular tweet got 23 retweets and 67 likes. So now that's a success as far as the agency is concerned. They will say, all right, let's go out and promote this tweet. Let's put some money in it and make this tweet much more visible to a lot more people. And the reason is Tyra is a brand, so more recognizable, yes. And the engagement seems to be very high because we've already seen that as a result of this tweet, right? So basically, you double up on the views or double up on the initial engagement that this tweet might have received. Now, let's decode that further. Once you go into the next level of the tweet and click on the people that retweeted and click on the comments that they might have left, you'll start to notice that this tweet is getting a lot more engagement because of Tyra and her brand, not because of the product. Right? So basically, as an agency, you have actually promoted this tweet, bought a Twitter buy to make Tyra's brand much more popular than the product. Right? And this continues into other forms of networking as well. So let's go into Facebook, for example. Let's look at Facebook video and Twitter video, YouTube video. So now there's an issue between these two formats, as we've noticed in recent years. There's an issue between autoplay and click-to-play. Facebook says 3 seconds of video view is a view. YouTube says 20 seconds, nobody knows, it's a black box, right? It could be 3 seconds, it could be 10 seconds. No, even probably YouTube doesn't know that. So from my perspective, these two issues of autoplay and click-to-play has its own problems. The reason being, both of these metrics, it doesn't matter how you measure the views, at the end of the day, both of these networks are saying that if a content gets maximum views, it's a success, right? So again, the agency looks at this metric, the view metric, and says, right, this is getting 5.8K likes, let's double up and then make this a sponsored story, right? So now again, if you start to decode this, if you go into the comments section of why this started to get so many likes and so much engagement, you'll start to again realize that these views are not really directly relational to the likes and shares that you're seeing, right? And as an agency, you actually don't know how many of those shares and comments ended up, incrementing the views, right? That information is not available today on any platform. There's no metrics on that at this point in time. So engagement cannot be decoded. So that's basically the end of the story from the perspective of a Facebook or a Twitter or a Pinterest or even Google+. So unless we change the way we measure, engagement cannot be decoded. So now I'm going to talk about how we can actually look at changing that metric of view and digging deeper into understanding the content. I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it. There's probably other ways out there, but this is one of the ways that you do it. So let's think back a bit and look at how a content is produced, right? When a content is produced, the first thing we do is write a script. And from the script, you create a storyboard. And a storyboard is in two-dimensional form, probably in a piece of paper or a two-dimensional computer imaging. And then from that storyboard, you go into production. And then from the production, you go into post-production, and then the distribution. So when we start the content from the storyboard process, why is it that the content is not being presented in the storyboard process at the end at the end section? Why is it always one frame? One frame does not tell the story of what this content is all about. Image, yes, when you have an image, there's only one image, it's a beach, it's a cat, it's a dog. But when you have a video, that Jennifer Lopez video you saw, one image is supposed to indicate to the consumer what the content is all about. So now let's break them apart. So how about I go in, break that content into a storyboard, or what I call a manga, for example. So there are two different ways that you can actually break this into a manga. One on the left is a pictorial summary, the way it is. So basically it takes into account what the storyboard would look like. And the second is a quick summary on a mobile device with a similar format and a similar structure to it. So let me go into the next one. How does it work? So there are many ways that you can actually generate a manga, but in this case, generation is through analysis of color, motion, image similarity, and clip duration. Combination of those variables they've come up with the generation of a manga. This is basically a pictorial representation of a video, right? And when you click on, just like a typical manga does, if you look at a magazine, nobody buys a magazine and reads the magazine from the front cover to the last, right? That's not the expectation of a magazine seller. All right, that's why you have a table of contents in front of the magazine, and you basically go in and say, all right, I want to read this article, and you jump to that article. Why can't we do the same thing with video? Because that's basically the medium that we have to carry forward, right? In the movie business, in the DVD business, you do have chaptering at the end of the DVD, but it's not presented in the front, obviously because you don't want to break the suspense. But in this case, you want your consumer to engage in the content that they find attractive and they find interesting. So from that perspective, when you present this in a pictorial summary, the way it's presented here, a consumer can come in and say, you know what, I really like where Tyra is being shown, I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to start the video from that point in time. Somebody else might come in and say, you know what, I don't really care about Tyra, I want to see the product, so they'll click on the product, and they'll see the product. So overall, you've got two people clicking into the video for different reasons, but the end goal is you got them to click into the video, which you probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise with a single frame. Right? So that's one thing. The second thing is, why not go back and run the same campaign that you ran with a single frame video with this format? So you send this into a Twitter card, the way it looks right now. You send the same video into a Facebook, the way it looks right now. So basically you're planning your campaign the way you would plan your regular campaign, the way you do today. But instead of sending a single frame, you would send a pictorial summary, the way it's shown right here. And furthermore, you can actually send the same kind of format into the websites as well, or into mobile devices through ad units, either through Google Ad Network or any ad network of your own choice, right? And you'll start to show up this way. And then your consumers are basically interacting and clicking on the content they like and they want to basically engage on. Now, once you get that engagement back, so you have presented this to your consumer, they're clicking on different mediums, different frames, and they're actually engaging on your content. So when you're getting content back, now when you look at the analytics of the video that a YouTube or any other video platform produces, the analytics that they produce is the view of the top level of the video, the whole video, right? But when you start to break this into a pictorial summary, so now you get analytics of every frame of the video, right? So now you can understand what is happening to your content inside, as where is the consumer interacting with, what are they actually engaging with. So in this case, if you notice, that particular frame is getting most engagement. Most people are clicking into that frame and starting the video from that point of time, right? And then you can also see the traffic. The traffic to that frame is coming from these markets that is highlighted there, right? And this enables you to understand that, okay, Japan and US are more interested in that frame. So what I'm going to do is, I am going to take that frame and I'm going to promote that frame instead of promoting, a frame that is not really seeing much traction. Furthermore, you can actually understand where the traffic is coming from. Yes, it's coming from Japan, it's coming from, US, but which network is it coming from? Is it coming from Facebook, from Pinterest, from Twitter, or Google, right? I mean, if you look at Google, there are 3 people there. I think all 3 of them are employees of Google, right? So if you notice that, you can actually figure out now, okay, where is it that I want to run my campaign? Where do I want to double up? I want to double up at Pinterest and Facebook according to this results here. So I would basically go out and use that frame that is actually getting more engagement, and then run another campaign again, and then promote that campaign instead of blindly promoting on views only, right? So furthermore, you can actually check and act on other metrics too. You can look at what's happening, which network is getting more likes and shares. Is it getting more retweets on Twitter? Is it getting more retweets on on Pinterest, or repins on Pinterest, or is it getting more likes on Facebook? And furthermore, you can also look at what's happening to the comments. Are the comments being acted on which frame, at what time, and in which geography, on which network? And all of that information that's available to you, you can actually now make an informed decision as to which content you want to promote, rather than blindly promoting content based on views. Right? So basically, that's what I'm saying here. He's saying that if you want to A/B test, don't A/B test at the frame level. Don't sit around in a conference room and pick 3 frames and say, I'm going to basically A/B test on that frame. A/B test with the crowd, with your consumers. Go out in the market, basically present this format, present your content with this pictorial summary format, and then see what kind of results you get out of it. And once you get out the results, then you know which content actually is more engaging, so that you can double up on that campaign and then move that into the different mediums. So coming into the summary, basically my whole talk is about don't be a victim or married to the view, right? Measure beyond the view. Look at the replays. What kind of people are actually coming back and replaying the video again and again? Look at the view time, right? Views, as I said, 3 seconds is a view as per Facebook, and 20 seconds is a YouTube. But for you as an agency or you as a publisher, what constitutes a view? So measure that against your view count, not the count that the network provides you. And look at the scene popularity. Which particular scene of the video is getting more engagement? Maybe that's what you want to double up on. When you make another content, and in relation to the first content you made, if a particular scene was actually getting more engagement, then that's what you want to again highlight in the next content. Right? And look at the comment section. There's a lot of trolls in the comment, so you can actually not figure out where, what, and how, and what's going on with the content. When you look at the comments today on a top-down fashion in YouTube or Facebook, when you have a frame level commenting, you can actually have a much more interesting idea as to which frame of the video is actually getting more traction. Obviously, likes and shares. You want to include everything. I'm not saying that exclude the likes and shares on view, but make an informed decision with all things considered, not just one metric. The second is measure each channel separately. What happens most of the times in agencies is that if a content got a lot of engagement on Facebook, they think that they will actually get the same engagement on Twitter. They'll take the same copy, they'll take everything else, and then basically repurpose that into another network. And that normally doesn't, work out that way, because the people that are on each networks have different ways of engaging with the content. So you've got to measure instead of just blindly going out and sending this content to one content into all platforms. And third, most importantly, experiment, test, be a pioneer, in terms of how you actually run your campaigns. If you're just going to be running a campaign just because somebody else did Facebook, and you think you're going to succeed based on that, that's not how it works. Remember that the new platforms is where probably more users are there that are interested in what you have to say. In an old platform, I'm not saying old in terms of age, in terms of usage. Let's say you send something to Facebook in a single frame, most people will ignore that. But if you send something like a pictorial summary into a Facebook feed, now everybody will actually look up and say, right, this is something interesting I've not seen before, so they'll engage more. And so for that reason, you have to include new platforms as you actually run campaigns on old networks like Facebook and Twitter and so forth. And that's my spiel. And basically, we are exhibiting at down on the floor at Direct Zone. So please come by and talk to us if you need more information as to what we do, as well as anything that you have out there. So Joe, can you please come up and then take some question and answers if you guys have any, both of us. Questions? They're going to use both our products, right? No questions.
Cool. I guess that's it. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Enjoy it.